Welcome to a new episode of Cleantech Conversations. It's today about solar energy in India, status and outlook. For this, I couldn't imagine a better guest. I'm very happy that this worked so well. Welcome to Dresden, Subrahmanyam Pulipaka, CEO of the National Solar Energy Federation of India, NSEFI.
Thank you very much, Sebastian and One Ardent team for having me here. You can call me Subu. It saves both time and efforts in our conversation. But it's really my pleasure being here and it's a real privilege to be on the Cleantech Conversations with you.
Thanks, Subu. Very much welcome. We will take today a closer look in the solar industry in India, right? Technology, innovations, challenges and barriers, the global perspective of solar in India, right? And so many other things. So thanks for taking all the efforts to being here. So you are since 2018 the CEO of the biggest solar federation in India. Before we going into the details, may I ask you to introduce yourself? Who are you and what made you who you are today?
Thank you very much for the question. And I lead the secretariat of India's largest solar energy association. I mean, we are no longer only serving solar, we are serving the entire renewable energy spectrum. The federation was formed in 2013 and we are now celebrating our 13th anniversary in less than a month. But how I got here, well, I am an electrical and electronics engineering graduate. I have, during my undergraduate itself, I have worked very extensively on reliability of PV modules and their performance. I was very curious about soiling and its impact on PV modules. And I did my undergraduate from one of the most high potential solar state in India, which is Rajasthan. So I was able to actually look at the live projects when I was in my undergrad. That gave me a good perspective of how solar energy works. I mean, when I was in my undergraduate, solar was not a big deal in India like it was in Germany. But by the time I completed my undergraduation, I was able to sort of contribute to some very good research articles and journal publications in characterizing the soiling losses for PV modules in India. Yeah. So that's how my solar journey started. Then I ventured into my entrepreneurial journey after I graduated. I thought, okay, if I was able to do it in a university, I should also be in a position to develop some product that can help the sector. So I was briefly for 2 years, I had my own company where we were providing both hardware and software for solar plants in understanding and preventing their losses. So we were doing proactive monitoring and preventive maintenance services we were providing to large companies. Of course, that was a time when the prices were really high. So it was a very good idea to do that business then. Then in 2018, in one of the events, my late boss, our then chairman, met me. And then he, out of the blue, asked me, will you join us as a CEO? And I told him, sir, I am an engineer. I would prefer being at the place where I can see things being done. Policy is neither my cup of tea nor I would ever imagine myself to be on the policy front. But he actually was very insistent. He said, we need more engineers in policy because you know what you're talking about. So I think it was a really big gamble from my side and it was a huge trust that he put on me at that very young age. And then I joined here in 2018 November. And now we are here. I mean, it's my 7th year in the federation now. And I really think it is a huge privilege for me to have a sort of a ringside view of what happened in the Indian solar sector in the last 6-7 years. And also really excited about what's going to happen in the next decade.
Absolutely. And bringing this engineering view on it, I think it's a very good point. And I see it in many conversations where you make your impact. So maybe from a big picture point of view, what is your current assessment of the state of solar energy in India as a global view? So
if we look at India's energy transition story today, it's very unique and one of its kind. India's solar energy capacity before 2014 was less than 3 gigawatt. Last month on 9th of February, we've crossed 100 gigawatt. So in 10 years, we installed more than 98% of our solar capacity.
Wow.
So that shows how much efforts have gone into establishing that firm fundamental foundation for India's acceleration into renewable energy and solar in particular. But the story doesn't end here. We have more than 150 gigawatt of projects in pipeline. In solar.
Before we talk about the pipelines,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's impressive numbers within 10 years, so
Yes.
a big increase. So can you name a couple of milestones where you said this was really important for, let's say, the development of the last 5 to 10 years?
I mean, it will be difficult to name only two. I have a list of 15 or 16. But maybe let me sort of, if I have to zero down on two things. The first thing is our reverse auction, which we have sort of revolutionized the pricing in India. Today, if you see, solar is the cheapest source of energy in India. And it has
already today?
Yeah, it has been since last 5 years.
Okay.
So that was only possible because of the modality of reverse auction that came into picture. But if an auction had to be successful, it needs to have a policy and regulatory ecosystem that supports projects. So I think that is the biggest contributing factor for our success today. I mean, although as an engineer, I believe we have to engineer policies. Policies cannot be made overnight, and you cannot figure out every part of a policy on day one itself. What India did right in the last 10 years is we were able to gradually input interventions whenever required so that we strengthen the existing ecosystem. For example, when we were in 2016, 2017, the government thought, yeah, now is the right time, we need to focus on strengthening our grid. 2023, 2 years back, the government again made an intervention and said, we have done a lot of plain vanilla solar, plain wind, now we need to do hybrid along with storage so that our renewable energy is more dispatchable and firm, and it can help us meet our peak demand. So these are few things that sort of helped us strengthen our journey. And now, of course, government has given equal emphasis on manufacturing after we've requested them. So I think these timely interventions that come at the right time will help you to sort of address the problems you have until then and also clear the way for the future.
Talking about problems, I would maybe consider them as challenges. Probably there are also a couple of challenges right now. So,
yeah.
But also here, what would your two picks, let's say, for the challenges for the PV, especially in India?
Well, before I answer your question, I always believe every challenge is an opportunity. So we have a lot of challenges in the sector, of course, but they are equally an opportunity for us to grow. On the top of my mind, the major challenge would be because we have sort of our solar journey was very intensive on the ultra mega power park side. Contrary to what happened in Germany, if you look at our 100 gigawatt of capacity, more than 85 gigawatt comes from large scale ground mounted utility projects. Only less than 20 gigawatt comes from distributed rooftop projects. So when you're doing large scale projects, generally land is something that you need to execute them. While I believe, and I'm sure you will also agree, India is definitely a land of opportunities, but we are running out of our land for installing solar. So I think land is something that I see as an upcoming challenge. And the solution, of course, is we have more rooftop, more agri PV, more floating PV, more bi PV, of course. But that is one challenge. The second challenge, I believe, is on our manufacturing. We have, after COVID happened and we were able to understand the vulnerabilities in our supply chain, we started focusing on increasing our domestic capacity. While one thing we had to learn, and we are still learning, is manufacturing needs an ecosystem to evolve. You can't expect manufacturing to evolve modularly. Like you have module manufacturing today, tomorrow if you want you'll get cell, day after you'll get ingot, then you get poly. That can only happen on textbook. So that ecosystem evolution for manufacturing is something that is very important. Today it appears as a challenge because we have more module generation, we have slightly lesser cell generation, and we are catching up on poly and wafer. But I'm sure once we are able to figure out the ecosystem part, we will be in a good position to sort of command a significant generation and production of modules and cells and other upstream generation in manufacturing from India.
And I'm sure we will talk later a little bit more about the production and all the supply chain. But let's step back and look at the role of your organization, right? Yeah. So can you explain the mission, the vision of NSEFI and how it supports the growth of the solar energy in India as a whole?
Sure. Broadly, we are the federation which is a bridge between the sector and the government. So I am the messenger, I am the conduit through which the information passes through from the sector to the government and vice versa. So by the virtue of being the conduit, we are at the helm of the advocacy for every policy and regulation surrounding solar in the country. Mm-hmm. So our main objective is to ensure that we have a sustainable proliferation of renewable energy in India, which is benefiting the country and also the industry. So that is our major objective. Mm-hmm. Our vision is, of course, to have an India which is more or less fully dependent on renewables, cut down dependency on carbon emitting generation sources, and also to be self-reliant on the entire value chain. This is our vision, and we want to advocate policies, regulations, and government initiatives in this direction. Mm-hmm. Going back to your question, what has been our role in the last 12-13 years since we have been? To begin with, like I said, our major task is to relay what the sector thinks to the government, and in one way or the other convey to them the aspirations of the industry. So we have been successful in convincing the government to issue landmark policies and regulations that has helped us accelerate our capacity installation. As simple as having a net metering regulation in 2013, which was not a norm then, to having enabling provisions in our bidding procedures, having more inclusive bids, making sure that all states have equal spread along with growth of solar. A lot of these things have been actively advocated by NSEFI, and we take pride in being successful in that. Apart from that, there is another side of the coin which generally doesn't come out in public, but installation is not the end of solar, right? We need to operate and maintain them, and we need to have a continuous interaction and a line established between the utilities and the generators. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And naturally there will be a lot of issues and concerns. So our job is also to hold the utilities and the government accountable for what has been promised for the sector, because in the initial days we were an emerging sector and we were treated like an emerging sector. Mm-hmm. Today we are no longer an emerging sector. Out of the total installed capacity of India, more than 40% today comes from renewables, and out of that more than 80% installed capacity is from solar. So we are now commanding a major chunk of installed capacity, although in generation wise we are closer to 12% of the total generation, but we will get there. We will get there closer to 40% soon. So we play a very important role in holding the various state governments and utilities accountable, and we make sure that the industry is not adversely affected by any decision that is not in the interest of the sector. So these are the things that primarily as a federation we play a role. Uh-huh. But there is another part that we do, and I always tell this to my team. Advocacy has two parts, reactive and proactive. Reactive, I like to call it as a firefighting. In a country like India, we have at least 1 or 2 new policy drafts coming out every day.
Every day?
Every day. One new regulation draft coming every week.
On the federal side or on the state side?
Doesn't matter.
Overall.
Every day. In one state or in federal way or in ministry side or in regulatory side, there's 1 or 2 every day.
Okay.
So we need to sort of react, be ready to react on what's happening, convey the industry's inputs, because everything is in a time-bound manner. If our interests are not represented in a proper way, then they won't be considered, and if it becomes a policy or a law, then it will adversely affect the sector.
Yeah.
So we are always on our toes. That's why I refer to it as firefighting. So we are ready with all equipment, and the moment it comes, we jump into the picture and douse the fire then and there itself. Major part of the work goes into that. But we are still cognizant of the fact that we are not here only to address the day-to-day things. We are here, like I said, our vision is to have an India which is completely reliant on renewable energy generation sources, which means we need to have a futuristic view of how things should be. So we have a proactive side of things in the federation itself, in my secretariat, which looks at futuristic policies, futuristic regulations, both at the federal level, at state level, and see what can be suggested to the states that can help them improve their energy generation status quo while shifting their consumption of fossil fuels to renewables and at the same time benefiting the sector.
Understand.
As we speak today, my team sits in 8 federal states of India. We are working with the states on proposing them new policies for agrivoltaics, for building integrated photovoltaics. These are the things that are not popular in India today, but there will be a time where these will become not a necessity but a requirement. So that's what in general
Interesting.
that we do.
So if you can name it in percentage, what is more strategic and what is more firefighting? Is it a 20-80 or what is it?
Well, when I joined, it was 100-0 in 2018.
Firefighting 100, right?
And it of course,
Yeah.
and it was justifiable because in 2018 we were in our accelerated growth curve.
Sure.
Now we have graduated to the next phase. So now we have the luxury of maybe 70-30, 70 firefighting and 30 proactive.
No, interesting.
But if you ask me what is my major goal for the next 2 years, I want to bring it down to 50-50. Yeah.
Okay, we can sit here in 2 years and see if we could achieve it.
Yes.
So what I consider also more strategic is also your international cooperation. So I know personally that you're very active in this strategic partnership with BSW in Germany, with UNEF in Spain, Solar Power Europe. I heard you've been at the event just last week there, coming back from there. Then the SEA in the United States. So there are a lot of things. You are co-founder of the Global Solar Council. So I'm sure I forget a couple of others. So anyway, what is your NSEFI specific interest in this international cooperation? What do you do and what do your members hope to achieve from these cooperations on an international level?
No, thank you very much for the question. The reason why NSEFI is very active on the international front is because we live in a very aggressively intense, connected world. You cannot function in isolation anymore. This is the fact that all of us have agreed. And if anything, the recent geopolitical events over the last 2-3 years are a proof that it has we have become more interconnected. So back in 2015, the Federation took a call that it is now not only important, but it is imperative that we need to expand our wings outside India for 2 primary reasons. One, of course, by the virtue of us expanding, we become the gateway for our members to these different markets, which is a very obvious requirement from an Indian side. But on the second thing, which is more strategic, is we are always in the know-how of the developments across the international market, which can or cannot impact India in one way or the other. So we cannot sit inside India and think, okay, this is what we are going to do, whatever comes we should be ready to face. But if we are prepared, then we can have a better response to whatever is happening outside in a very strategic manner. So these are the 2 main objectives we had when we started our international outreach. Like you mentioned, in 2015, along with 6 other associations, including the German Solar Association, we founded Global Solar Council. It happened at COP15, COP21 at the sidelines of where ISA was also formed in Paris. And then we also made sure we play an important role in IRENA, Until last year, I chaired IRENA's Coalition for Action Working Group on Renewables in Agriculture, because we believe that as India, we have a lot of lessons we can relay to both developed and developing countries. They can learn from what we did, but they can also learn from our mistakes. So it's an important thing for us to convey this to both developing and developed world. Then our cooperation, I should say, with German Solar Association has been fantastic and phenomenal. I mean, this is my 11th time in Germany in the last 2 years, so you can imagine how we are working very closely with them.
Wow.
And that is the best partnership we have ever had. And the advantage for us with the German association was that we both have been in each other's shoes before. Like what Germany was 7 years back is India currently today in their market position. So there are a lot of things where we can learn from each other to prevent each other's mistakes and how you can sort of scale things up. So in a nutshell, this is why we are very actively engaging with international cooperation side of things. We now have a dedicated team that looks at it. We have 4 people only for international cooperation, planning delegations, visits, and helping some meaningful exchanges on best practices between Indian sector and our global counterparts.
Okay, very interesting, and I can echo this good cooperation on this side. Yeah? So you already set kind of targets for your organization, but we have to talk also about targets of India, right? So you mentioned you have today 100 gigawatt installed base. I know that you're looking for 300 gigawatt, I guess, in 2030, which is just 5 years from now.
Yeah.
So very impressive on the overall renewable energy. You want 500 gigawatt in this time frame. So. Yes. And maybe you can elaborate a little bit more about these targets, and are they achievable, and maybe what are the measures to accelerate here?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at how India is framing its targets from the beginning, they are ambitious but also pragmatic and achievable, because India is not a country but we are a subcontinent. So achieving scale is something that comes very quickly in India, provided you reach an inflection point. And I am very sure in India, solar has reached that inflection point. When it comes to our 500 gigawatt of target by 2030, I am sure it is achievable. We have completed 207 gigawatt now in total RE. So we have another 300 odd to go. But in solar specifically, like I said, we have more than 150 gigawatt in pipeline. Some of them are hybrid, some of them are with storage. So that gets us closer to 400. And the government has now increased its focus on distributed renewable energy. Prime Minister has launched a scheme called PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana, and PM Kusum was launched in 2019. This is for rooftop and solar pumps. So combined, they are going to add another 70 to 60 odd gigawatt solar in our grid. And green hydrogen is picking up very quickly in India. We have given more than $4 to $5 billion of incentives already to green hydrogen manufacturers. And by the virtue of it being green hydrogen, you are adding more solar capacity that can power your production from green electricity to green molecules. So all in all, I would say it is safe to assume we will touch our target. And we will, there is a scenario where I've just come from Brussels. Last week I was speaking at the Solar Power Summit, and I mentioned that my lowest case scenario, like worst case scenario, is we achieve our target. My best case scenario is we overshoot it by 30 to 40 gigawatt, at least in solar, because I see a lot of influx from this distributed renewable energy. And one part of the sector we don't often talk about is our commercial industrial solar consumption. It is increasing at 200% year on year. And after 2028, it might as well be a possibility we'll add more solar in commercial industrial than in grid utility scale. So that is the catch-up game that we are witnessing. So I am very sure that we will be very close to our target in the next 5 years. Like I told you, last 10 years we did 90 gigawatt. Now last year we did 26 gigawatt. This year my conservative estimate says we'll do 35 gigawatt. We might even cross that, and the next year we'll cross 50. So we are, I always say my favorite sentence is, in India we have gigawatts for breakfast. So we definitely are increasing the intensity and accelerating our pace of installations.
Very impressive numbers, and I see there's a big chance that you even overtake this, yes. Now I want to, let's say, switch the gear a little bit and looking at technology and technology innovations, right? So if you have this big amount of PV there, so where do you see advancements in solar technology and maybe most impactful for India's solar sector? Can you elaborate a little bit on this technology advancements?
Sure. I mean, as an engineer, my focus always is on efficiency and how efficient are we with our current systems, and is there any scope for improvement. The first and foremost comes naturally is if we are able to have more power generation per square unit. I'm seeing a lot of chatter on high efficiency, high rating modules. I think as a country we should focus on that. That can help us decrease the area that we use per kilowatt and help us add more electricity generation into it. But that is a generic answer on manufacturing. On the other side, where India can actually make an impact in terms of technology innovation is how we utilize our abandoned spaces for solar. For example, our highways. Our highway, today we have the second largest highway network in the world. Only the America is above us. So we have a lot of space that can be utilized and is connected to grid, which can be integrated with solar. And we need innovations that can help us harness that. Adding on to that is agri-PV. We have seen in Germany how agri-PV is proving to be a very impactful solution. In India, we evolved from an agriculture economy. Today, while our service sector dominates our GDP, agriculture is still a significant contributor to our GDP. And our population is increasing, we are exporting a lot of our food grains. So it is time that we focus on co-locating solar and agriculture so that we don't, or we fully utilize the land for both purposes and increase the land use ratio. So I think that is another set of innovations that I am personally very excited about. Last but not the least, storage. Energy storage is very, very important. Solar is an intermittent source. We are only available during the day. All these arguments are fine. But as long as we are dependent on imports to satisfy our storage, we will always be at the behest of our importer. But it would always be wise to see if we can focus on indigenous storage technologies that can help us accelerate our storage. I'll give a very good anecdotal example. We now started focusing not only on battery storage, electric battery storage, but also on pump storage. Hydro is something that India has been doing even before Britishers gave us independence, or we took independence from Britishers. So we are well versed with the technology. We have no dependency on import or manufacturing outside India. And the only point that is slightly on the other side for pump storage is the time it takes. But still it is more indigenous and it can help us get to where we want. Similarly, if we are able to look at more innovative technologies in other metal oxides like magnesium ion, sodium ion storage and all, which Indian companies are already looking at, it can help us get closer to our energy transition targets.
So to convince also the public sector about PV, I think that's also a very important topic from your organization. So from my point of view, you want to create your own supply chain over the whole, starting from ingot until the modules. So it's for sure also potential to create jobs, right? So over the whole sector. What's your take on this? Is it some important topic? Are there opportunities which you talk with politicians, talk with the industry? Is this a strong argument for the renewables?
No, definitely it is a strong argument. We have seen in the last 2 years how it is important to have domestic manufacturing, and also it's important to have more support to promote domestic manufacturing. Otherwise, your energy security, the fundamental principle of energy security is obsolete. And in India, as a federation, since 2016, we have been advocating for subsidies as well as promoting manufacturing through dedicated incentives. And those incentives are capital intensive, CapEx subsidies, not OpEx subsidies, which can help us, like I was mentioning in my earlier comments, create an ecosystem around manufacturing. Today, India's manufacturing is the only answer to the monopoly that we have in the world. There is no doubt. Hands down, India can be a provider of solution to the monopoly that is existing today. But we need to focus on 4 things if we have to get there. And these are very simple. We need 4 M's. Materials, machines, money and manpower. These 4 M's, if we are able to take care, then there is no stopping Indian manufacturing. Let us see materials. Today in silicon, quartz mining is something that is the basic for getting polysilicon, and then you do go ahead with the other downstream processes.
Is it available in
It is.
India?
Indian government has actually in 2023 declared a critical minerals mission. They identified the deposits of other rare earth elements, including quartz, across the country. Now we have a map that shows which states have what reserves. And Indian government also declared production linked incentives in 2021. And then the second tranche came in 2023, and there are manufacturers who are now mandated to manufacture polysilicon, wafer, cell and module in India. So that ecosystem is slowly building up, but we need more technology oriented solutions that can help us get our materials at affordable prices. Because you know better than me that the number of people across the world who have know-how, knowledge and the machines to process the quartz, I can count them on my fingers. So we need to make that technology more affordable. That's where material comes into picture. The other part of the materials is thinking of innovating and R&D on the next gen materials like perovskite, for example. I was visiting a laboratory in Berlin the other day, and there are some promising results. We are seeing what's happening with silicon perovskite medley modules coming out of the other country. So we need to now sort of put our foot down and do very aggressive focused R&D on getting new materials out.
Okay, materials.
Yeah.
Check.
Yes.
What's the other M?
Machines.
Machines.
Our favorite M.
Okay.
So
it's my favorite M. Yes.
We need, see, when we talk about manufacturing, unfortunately we comfortably ignore machines. Developing a manufacturing ecosystem is subject to having a machine ecosystem. We cannot envisage becoming a manufacturing superpower without having a dedicated, stable supply chain on machines. And that is where I think India should focus next. Machines, again, there are 2 sides of argument. The technology is evolving. Where are we going to get the new technology? Machines are being replaced every 2 to 3 years. All these arguments are valid. Short term, you need solutions. But mid-term, long-term, India has no choice but to become a machine manufacturer for our PV module ecosystem. Right from module upstream till wafers or ingots. We need to have that. It will not happen overnight. For all we know, it might not happen for the next 2-3 years. But if we start now, when it comes to the next time, the next generation of manufacturing in PV, we should not be left behind. So machines is another critical thing according to me. Third is very obvious, money. You've seen in India last year more than $40 billion of foreign investment came in installation.
40?
Billion. Dollars.
Okay. Yes.
But as we are becoming a manufacturing country, we also now need to start attracting investments for manufacturing. I'm very happy to say today more than 5 of our solar manufacturers are public listed companies in India. It's a very heartening trend. Now Indians are supporting our manufacturing so that it can scale up and meet the demand of the industry. But we need more than that. We need to have more financial instruments that can increase the velocity of money coming to our manufacturing sector. And the 4th M, which is the most important M of all, is the manpower. we need skilled technicians, workers, and manpower that can help us achieve our both targets. So when I talk about India's targets, everyone is looking at our generation and installed capacity targets. But my targets are the other targets also. I have a target in manufacturing. Because if I have to meet my generation target, I need to manufacture. So that is a interconnected target on manufacturing. And both of them require skilled manpower. And I personally think as a federation, we are now working on a lot of initiatives to strengthen that ecosystem, have dedicated modules that can support training Indian engineers and other blue-collar personnel to help meet industry's requirements. But we need to do more. And India today can not only be a hub for training, but we can also be a gateway for other countries to meet their requirements of skilled labor in green energy. We are trying to do that, and I believe if we focus on these 4 M's, our manufacturing will be more competitive, will be more attractive, and we will be more sustainable and quality oriented, so that the next 2 decades of the global energy transition will be powered by Indian made products.
Yeah. So talking about the skilled workforce, are there any programs? I guess you have already set up some programs.
Yes.
For the industry, but for sure at the end also the companies have to support this, right?
Yes,
so can you elaborate how you as an organization support this skilled labor force program?
Sure. So let us look at the broader requirements of manpower in India on both blue collar and white collar. What we did last year in the month of August, we have launched a portal accessible only to our members. So this portal has a list of all trained technicians called Suryamitras, along with their coordinates and their locations in different parts of the country. So they are certified, they already went through training. So any member of us who wants to hire them can just log into our portal, get their details and then hire them. So this was one way to bridge the gap between the supply and the demand. On the other side, while I like talking about the blue collar side of things and the demand versus supply, we are also facing a huge challenge in trained engineers and people in policy and regulatory parts of our energy transition. To support that requirements of our members, we have launched a youth portal again in early last year in April. This portal will help engineers, any engineer, you can be an electrical, you can be a civil, you can be a computer science. It is an interface for you to understand what is happening in solar, to gain some knowledge so that your career prospects in renewables will open up. This year in May, we are launching another dedicated initiative for capacity building on only policy and regulatory proficiency. Across the India, we are launching a fellowship, and very soon we are setting up our own institute to support both blue collar and white collar requirements of our members. And I'm very happy to say that we have significant support from our member companies, and our member companies also do this by themselves. Like most of our companies who are setting up these ultra mega power parks have their own centers of excellence co-located at their parks. They are training hundreds of skilled manpower who can not only support their installation but also can go on and support our country's broader picture of energy transition. So we want to consolidate these efforts and have a centralized institute that will support the aspirations of the industry.
I know from production side, right? So solar cell production side, there you need also skilled workforce, and I know that there are also cooperations with German institutes, German equipment manufacturers to go exactly this way to support this working people. There's already a cooperation between India, Europe, Germany. So how do you think, for especially for the solar sector, how do you think you want to become a global leader in the solar sector, India, and how Germany, Europe can support this, that it's to the benefit of both? So do you have a vision for this?
Definitely, I have a very, very maybe a utopian, ambitious vision for it. When I was in Vienna last year at PVSEC, I was talking about how we need to do another Airbus model for solar manufacturing. I mean, I don't need to come to Europe and tell Europeans what an Airbus model is. You know it better than me. But if you see how each part of the aircraft is made in a different city in Europe. You have Hamburg doing one stuff, you have assembly happening in Toulouse, you have some parts coming from Europe, Italy, some coming from UK, but the aircraft is assembled in France. I think it is high time that India and EU work on similar kind of model for two things. One on our manufacturing and second on our manufacturing equipment. If we are able to do that, then we will establish not only a cooperation that is unprecedented before, but we will also have enough supply chain resilience that will safeguard us and shield us from any market aberrations. Today, if you look at it, technology-wise, Europe is very strong. I'm seeing that all the next-gen innovation and technologies, majority of them are happening in the laboratories in Germany, or some of them are happening in France. To scale them, you need India. India can provide you that pilot test bed. You can understand, you can test, you can get what is happening there, and you can develop products for that, or co-develop with India, and then use those products across the world. I strongly believe there will be a time not so far in the future where the India-EU cooperation, through India-EU cooperation or through specific cooperation with Germany, we can manufacture machines in India with German technology that can help not only Indian manufacturers but also help manufacturing segments in emerging countries, including that of Africa or Latin America. Similar is for our solar supply chain in wafers and ingots and cells. You need to have that technology exchange that can help us get polysilicon out, that can help us make very qualitative ingots and wafers, and then we can have a cooperation on using that for manufacturing modules and cells.
And you have inside information with your government, with the European Commission, or something where you do not want to talk so openly about that?
Well, I can tell you what's in public. We have been very strongly publicly talking about the EU-India Free Trade Agreement. As a federation, we have also contributed to the negotiations and discussions. I believe there is a ray of hope, but once the free trade agreement is finalized, we can do much more. But that's not stopping us from doing what we want to do now. But I see that India-EU FTA is going to be a catalyst in making both India and EU the emerging manufacturing hubs for green energy. That's all I can say in public.
Let's stop at this point and talk about public awareness and maybe perception barriers. So I know that solar energy, and you mentioned it's booming in India, right? So, but maybe is it something where you have to also educate people on the importance of renewables energy as a whole? Because I guess there are also the fossil fuel industry, the lobby groups.
Yeah.
I think they don't give up for free, right? So is this a topic you are addressing with your organization about that?
Yeah.
The public, let's say, awareness about renewables?
So maybe the way I look at awareness is from two sides, on public and on policymakers. Because if policymakers are aware of the potential, then they will create enabling frameworks on policy that can help us accelerate renewable energy. If public is aware, then our consumption of renewable energy will increase. Both of them are important to me. So on the policymaker side, I think I should be very happy and privileged to say that we are one of the few countries where climate change is not a debate. We know renewables is a solution. It doesn't matter whether it is the same party that is in the federal government or is in state or not, or if it is an opposition party. A common consensus on solar energy is completely available. So that makes my job easier. I don't need to fight for the very common ethos of why we need solar or wind or storage.
Yes.
So
okay.
there, I must say, I have it easier than my other counterparts in different parts of the world.
Yeah.
On the public side, the awareness with respect to solar is slowly building up. In 2022, June, we've launched a campaign, thanks to the support of the Federal Ministry of Development in Germany and our ministry. We launched this campaign on rooftop solar to sort of convey the benefits of what rooftop solar is, what it can do, and the potential of it to the different consumers across the country. We have gone to 30 different cities. We have reached out to more than 1.5 million citizens of India to convey them the benefits of rooftop. And in 2024, Prime Minister announced a new scheme of new subsidies for rooftop, and it made our job more easier. Once you see the head of the state taking the message of solar and sustainability to the masses and public, all we need to do is create the enabling framework so that the citizens who now got to know what solar is from the Prime Minister are now aware of who are the vendors, what is the process, how I can get benefits. So since last 1.5 years, we've been trying to go to different states, identify the pockets which are of high potential for rooftop penetration, and then go and sit with the common people and citizens there and understand what do they need to shift to rooftop, what are their perceptions, how we can solve their misconceptions / perceptions. We have done that now since the scheme was announced in Jan 2024. We have completed 15 cities. Next month we are launching it in another 5 cities, and then by December we would have completed 20 cities more. So we are doing it very focused in those cities to accelerate their uptake of rooftop. And we are going to do similar for solar pumps with farmers also.
Great. So it's really momentum. I feel the spirit also from you. So as we wrap up, maybe what is your message? What you would like to give our audience who are interested in contributing to India's clean energy future? What is the take on this?
Well, my take is very simple. The time is now. Today, anything that happens in renewable energy, India is going to be at the center of it. In terms of manufacturing, you see where we are going. In terms of installation, you see where we are going. 1 out of every 3 modules installed in the world after 2027 will be in India. So if you want to invest in India, the time is now. If you want to start operations in India, the time is now. If you want to train manpower in India, the time is now. And if you want to do anything in India, the time is now. So my message is this, that the time is really now, and we need to sort of take things forward. I'll give you one analogy and I will sort of end with this. We got independence in 1947 on August 15th. From 1947 till 2007, in 60 years of independence, we've installed 200 gigawatt of capacity. In the next 6 years, we're going to install that much of renewables. That is the scale we are doing. So what we did in 60 years in conventional power, we're going to do that in renewables in less than a tenth of the time. So that is the scale at which India is operating. So again, I would like to end by saying the time is now. Whatever you're doing, be you a manufacturer, investor, developer, the time is now to be in India. Otherwise, you're missing out on action.
That's a clear message. Thanks, Subho, CEO of National Solar Energy Federation of India, for your valuable input and your perspective. And it was a pleasure meeting you here to talk with you about solar energy in India, status and outlook. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. My pleasure.